crucified for this. Hello, welcome to the Book Cafe, where we review books, talk fantasy, and interview authors and editors. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and if you're a veteran, welcome back. Over the past 7 years, I've had about 8 different people recommend that I pick up Steve Erikson's Malazan Book of the Fallen. Supposedly, it's one of the best epic fantasy series ever. So I got the first 2 books from a used bookstore, and let's just say I never opened the second one. Here's what Malazan is. It is a brilliant, towering piece of world building. There is so much going on. There is so much interesting stuff happening. So many characters running at cross purposes. So many interesting political things. Here's what it's not. Comprehensible. Gardens of the Moon is notoriously difficult to get into. And not only do I not blame anyone who has trouble, I personally could not keep going. There is so much happening that, let's put it this way. There's a reason why main characters in fantasy, science fiction, spy fiction, that kind of thing, are usually average Joes who aren't generally part of that world. Because that way, there's an audience surrogate. There's someone who also doesn't understand what's going on, who can have these things explained to them. That's why so many fantasy books have main characters who are from farming communities. They tend to be uneducated in politics and magic and religion, so the audience discovers things with them. That's why Luke Skywalker is from some backwater that has never heard of the Jedi or the Rebellion. That's why when we join Neo in the Matrix, he is still part of the Matrix. It's why Harry Potter was raised by Muggles instead of wizards. That way, the main character is as unfamiliar with the world as we are, so they discover it with us, and we discover it with them. Trying to introduce the reader to a brand new world without an audience surrogate character is extremely difficult. It can be done, but you need to use some very specialized techniques to pull it off. Erikson doesn't. I walked into the novel, and by about page 75, I still had no idea what was going on, who anybody was, what they were doing, why they were doing it, and who I was supposed to be paying attention to. Someone who looked like they were supposed to be a major character got assassinated within a chapter of showing up, and it was written like it was supposed to be some big emotional thing, but I had no idea who this person was or why their death was important. And supposedly it's really helpful to read Erikson's notes and to read the fan wiki to figure out what's going on. However, personally, I feel like that's a failing in the writing. If the book cannot stand by itself, if it needs supplemental materials to be understood, I feel like that's poor plotting. And simply put, I could not keep going. Much as I wanted to enjoy it, it felt like I was reading the second book in a series when the first book had never been published. And in fact, if you read up on the series, that's kind of what happened. Gardens of the Moon is a sequel to a role-playing game that only about 6 people played. And the author acts like all of the readers were privy to what happened in the game. So trying to figure out what happened seems kind of like an exercise in futility. The book is well written. The characters seemed very interesting from what I could tell. The magic system seemed cool. I couldn't really tell. It was hard to tell what was going on. But overall, I had more trouble with this book than I had with any other book I've reviewed. And that includes Angelology, which those of you who've been following this channel for a long time will know I panned pretty brutally. And yet I actually managed to finish that one. So if you're willing to put in the time and effort, if you're willing to be more than a little bit obsessive, if you're willing to, take notes and catalog everything, then Gardens of the Moon is supposedly fantastic. Malazan Book of the Fallen is supposed to be amazing. But if you're not absolutely 100% committed, then I'm sorry to say I have to put this at do not read. I am perfectly aware that a lot of you are going to disagree with me, and I am willing to give the series another try, if enough of you manage to convince me it's worth it. But as it stands, I cannot recommend Malazan Book of the Fallen, I cannot recommend Gardens of the Moon, and I'm very sorry. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to show it by clicking on the like button. Here, subscribe to the Book Cafe. And here for more videos like this. The 3 videos a week schedule was a bit rough, so we're moving to Wednesdays and Saturdays. So I will see you on Saturday. And until then, read good fantasy.